What's up, world? So I just finished my first resistance training of the day. About to go do some cardio. When I get back, I'm gonna do a quick video on some beginning runners' do's and don'ts, especially when running outside. So yeah, I'm gonna run probably only like a 5-mile run today. Gonna run the first 3 miles on a loop that's gonna end at the house. Gonna come back in, grab the dogs, take them for the last 2 miles because they need it today. They're a little hyper. So I'll check in with you when I'm done and give you those tips for beginning running. Talk to you soon. All right, so I'm back from my run. Unfortunately, Daisy Dukes didn't come along with me. It's a little bit colder than I expected when I got out there. The weather said it was about 40 degrees out, but it didn't take into account the wind chill, so I figured it was best just to leave these guys home where they can be toasty and warm. So yeah, I'm back from that. Tips for running for beginners. The first tip, and this is probably the biggest safety tip that I can give, it's the biggest mistake I see other runners doing out on my run route. And that's when you're running on the street, which is what I normally do. You want to run against traffic. So what I mean by that is you want the cars coming at you in the same lane that you're running in. So if you're, running down the left side of the road, you want the cars coming straight at you on that same left side. The reason for this is you want to be able to see the driver, because if you can see the driver can see you. Also, when you see the driver and take a look at them, you can see if they're texting, if they're playing with their radio, so you know if they do see you and you can react accordingly. So if you're running with traffic, like you would when you're riding a bicycle or when you're driving on the correct side of the road, the car would be seeing the back of you. You might not even hear the car. Teslas and whatnot now don't really make any noise, so you might not even see the car coming from behind, and that would be a recipe for disaster. My next tip, and this is something I do no matter what, is wear something like this: bright red, bright green, something that's gonna get driver's attention, that's gonna make you noticed. So that's the biggest thing. It's I'm lucky to have my motorcycle license. That's the biggest thing they teach you in the safety courses is if you're not seen, then you're not gonna be safe. So you wanna be seen. You wanna make sure that that they're noticing you, that you're standing out. So when I'm running in the wintertime, I always wear this sweatshirt because it's the only bright colored warm article of clothing I have. In the summertime, I have a just a plain old red t-shirt, whatever I can find, maybe a green one, whatnot. So make sure that you're being seen. If you're running at night, I'd recommend a headlamp. That's what I use, is a headlamp with an LED light on it. That way I can see better, and obviously they're gonna see me. I've seen other runners run with like the strap that lights up, another good way to be seen. But basically any way you can be noticed is gonna make you a little bit safer. My next piece of advice is kind of weather-based. So right now it's wintertime in upstate New York. If you live in an area like I do where the weather's always changing, it doesn't even seem to matter the season. Like today it was 40 degrees out, yesterday it was close to 50, tomorrow I think the forecast says 25. So every day it's changing. What I recommend, and with the cold weather, is layering. So you want to have a nice kind of tight-fitting Under Armour style, something that's breathable but also that's gonna wick away moisture, keep you dry. That way the sweat and everything doesn't cool and start to kind of freeze on you. Summertime is just kind of breathable fabric that is gonna be kind of loose, whatever you're comfortable in really with summer and spring. Now, what I recommend, and this is what I do on the days like today where I'm not really sure how the weather's gonna be, is I plan a loop that comes close to my house. Now, I know not everybody's gonna be able to do this. Not everybody's gonna have a decent running path near where they live. I'm kind of lucky that I have a more residential neighborhood where the streets aren't too busy. I can run on them, especially during the day. So what I do is I do a loop that kind of will put me about halfway through the run back at the house. So that way if I decide I want to take off a layer or put on a layer, I can do that quickly. I also do this on my longer runs when I decide I want to take the dogs with me, but I don't want them to have to go for the full 10-mile run. I'll do the same thing so that way I can grab them for the last couple miles, because they're always interesting. sometimes fun to run with. So yeah, that's actually a really good rule of thumb, is to dress accordingly. And if you're not sure if you're dressed accordingly, plan for a way that you can switch out of clothes. A way you could do that is you could bring a backpack, which I mean would be a little cumbersome, but if that's the only solution, then that's what you're stuck with. If you're running on a track or running indoors, obviously it's gonna be a lot easier. On a track, you could just bring a bag, set it down next to the track. Indoors, I mean, that's gonna be the simplest way to run and stay warm and dry. And next tip is shoes and socks. So I definitely recommend making sure you have a well-fitted sneaker or trail running shoe, whatever type of running you're doing. So I have a decent set of Reeboks that fit my feet well. I have a tendency to roll my ankle inward. I've done it quite a bit, at least multiple times on both ankles. Broken both of them because of it. Strains, sprains, everything you can think of since the time I was probably in my early teens. So this shoe kind of forces my foot out, and so it helps me with that. Wouldn't be right for everybody, but that's the right shoe for me. Recommend going to your local shoe store and just getting a good fit. I did read a study that said comfort is the #1 indicator of injury with shoes, so make sure you're comfortable in them. I also have a waterproof kind of hiking trail running shoe that I use when it's snowing outside or when I'm trail running to just keep my feet dry. With socks, something I learned from hiking was layering socks even when it's warm out. So what I do is I have a thin layer, almost like a dress sock. It's kind of like a dry wicking sock that I put on, and then I put on whatever sock I'm putting over it. If it's wintertime, then I'll put on something like a thermal wigwam would be my recommended brand, but there's plenty out there. So warm, insulated sock. Summertime, a little bit more lax, just kind of whatever I can find that's clean. Works good. But yeah, the 2 different layers make it so that way when your foot is rubbing on the soles of the shoe, you're not actually going to get those blisters, because instead you're going to have that double layer of socks rubbing instead of your foot rubbing. So that'll help you, avoid blisters and whatnot. They're kind of inevitable when you start doing, distance runs. When you start getting over that 10 to 12 mile range, you're probably eventually going to get some blisters. But anything you can do to prevent that is always going to be helpful. I think that about wraps up my recommendations and tips for beginning running. The next video I'm going to do is going to be running with dogs, and I'll have Daisy help me out with giving some tips for how to run with dogs, especially with 2 dogs. It's an interesting challenge that I've been able to, dare I say, master. I'll also do a winter-specific running tips video, so those are to come. Hit like if you like it, hit comment if you got questions, or contact me however you can. Peace.